we did a really great video, which was probably one of our most popular videos, which was our 11 most popular caravan parks. So for me, the best single campsite I've ever stayed at would have to be
A new place, a new home for a while. Let me feel.
All right. Well, welcome back. Round 2.
Round 2 it is.
See if we can get through these questions today.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
the next section of questions.
The next section. Questions.
Yes.
We've got heaps, as we said in the last episode. There are so many questions you guys have given us, and we're really enjoying going through them. So,
We're having a lot of fun, actually.
yeah.
It's been a lot
All
of
right.
fun.
So,
So we're just going to get straight into it today because we feel like we rambled on a bit last time.
yes.
We're a bit tired and being a bit silly, and I think we just need to get the podcast done. Q&As, this next section of all these questions, because there's a lot.
All right. So I've called this one the rig.
Here we go. Oh my gosh, I forgot about the name thing.
I've called this one the rig and setup. All right.
What?
The rig.
What has that even got to do with anything?
It's got to do with the next set of questions.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready? So you're going to ask the first one. Off you go.
Okay. If you lost your caravan tomorrow and had to buy a new one, would you buy the exact same layout? What would you change?
Oh,
That's a
yes. I know.
good one. So yes, you would buy the same caravan?
Yes,
Yes?
I would. Because I think value for money, and I think the layout of our van at the moment is perfect for what we need it for.
It's kind of a bit of an easy no-brainer, isn't it, that question for us
I,
right now?
I just think in terms of value for money, I think the Snowy River hybrids are so good.
Yeah. So I think that's probably a very quick and easy
So yeah, I
question,
would say
really.
I wouldn't change anything. The only thing I wish I would change, and I'm going to rant here a little bit, but
There was no ranting allowed
we
today.
got the 2025 model, which is superb. I really like it. The 2026 model has an extra 200 amps of lithium. It's got an extra 200 watts of solar, and it's got a bigger inverter, which meant we probably could have run the aircon if we were free camping. But hey, that's the only thing. And I wouldn't change the layout. I wouldn't change the outdoor kitchen. Wouldn't change anything else.
Yeah.
I reckon that's probably it. But, it's just me sort of being,
I think that, well, you've answered it straight away. I mean, like, for us, it is a no-brainer because the caravan is still new, but we have now done a number of different trips in different weather conditions. And I think we still wouldn't change the layout. We're just saying how perfect the layout was for us in all those circumstances. And even in the torrential rain and the crazy cyclone and all that stuff, there isn't anything we'd change about the layout.
Even the pop top. Like, I was a little bit dubious about the pop top, thinking, in big winds or big rains, I was a little bit, didn't want the whole thing going, in the big winds.
How's it go?
But, probably what didn't come across in one of our previous videos when we were up in Yeppoon, that cyclone that was just north of us, it sort of ended up just circling around Rockhampton, which is where we were. And we were pretty much stuck there for a few days. And we had massive winds and we had massive rain. And the pop top in the Snowy, it was like having like a proper roof. You wouldn't have known, would you have?
No.
That we had a pop top. And the pop top is so good because when it comes down, it's not as tall and saves fuel because it's a lot more aerodynamic. And
Tim's
Mate,
rambling
I
and
wouldn't-
going off track.
I wouldn't change a thing.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, that was it.
All right, my dear. The next question. Now, I've written it as, is a four-wheel drive really necessary for the big lap, or is it just a marketing gimmick? Four-wheel drive means the vehicle that can go four-wheel driving. Do we really need a four-wheel drive? Or is...
I personally would say for what we did and what we do, yes. For someone who doesn't do off-roading, who doesn't go off the beaten track, who sticks to highways and caravan parks that have bitumen, no, I don't think you need a four-wheel drive. So I think that's really an individual choice because it depends on what you are doing. And I think even though we don't go the full bush bashing, crazy angles off, like really crazy four-wheel drive. We enjoy watching those videos, but we aren't those people. I still think knowing that we had a four-wheel drive to go off the beaten track if we needed to, because I think that's important. I think sometimes if you are, like I said, if you're not doing anything other than just caravan parks and highway driving, then I don't think you need anything massive four-wheel drive. But I think it is handy to have something that can go at least off-road to gravel roads or like corrugated roads. I think you should have some kind of four-wheel drive.
I'll give you a scenario, even if you have no intention of going four-wheel driving, right?
Yeah.
Our scenario down in Tasmania when it was cold and icy and the roads were slippery, going up mountainsides, or even when we were in the snowies, knowing that you could just flick a button and go into four-wheel drive, knowing that now you've actually got four wheels that the engine is powering, definitely gave you that little bit more confidence that everything was going to be okay.
And it also takes you on some different adventures because you actually, when you are travelling full-time or even when you're not travelling full-time, it's so easy to turn up somewhere and you're like, oh, I wish I had four-wheel drive. When it says four-wheel drive access only, they're everywhere, those tracks. And when it says four-wheel drive only, it doesn't mean it's going to be crazy four-wheel driving. But I think personally it would be ideal. It would be, I would not travel Australia or do big trips if we did not have four-wheel drive, honestly. And I think, remember way back when we were in that process of switching over vans, when we were travelling, we had the Ranger and we were coming back with the all-terrain and there was a massive accident on the highway. I don't know if you remember. And we got detoured. It was closed and we got detoured off.
Yeah, I do remember.
It was crazy weather. It was raining. There was potholes, but there was a massive accident. So the road was closed.
Where was that?
It was north... Oh, I
remember it though.
I don't know exactly where it was. It was somewhere on the Queensland roads. And we got detoured. Like, it wasn't just us. It was heaps and heaps of traffic, obviously. We were all following each other. And we started going on full off-road. It was like...
cane fields and...
Through cane fields, but even the mud roads. And then there was inclines and declines. And it was wet. It was slippery. And it was crazy. Tim was having a heart attack because the Black Ranger was getting covered in mud everywhere. But it was one of those moments where I was thinking, we look at, like when we're talking about now, if we didn't have four-wheel drive capabilities, we would have had to have been stuck on the side of the road and we would have had to wait because that road was closed for nearly 2 days. It was a horrific accident. I remember it was awful. And so it's like little things that you just don't think about if you're not going, well, I'm not going four-wheel drive, I don't need one. Well, I personally think you should have one. Just for any circumstances.
The Ranger was a great car.
I know, we're not going to decoy.
But it was a really good car.
That's just what made me remember that particular thing. And I remember it was a bit scary because I think at the time it was we didn't know where we were going. And like all the traffic was the same. People were sort of all stopping going, well, where do we go now? Because we're all on dirt tracks and whoever the person was in front, it was follow the leader because it was still torrential rain. But obviously if we're being decoyed, so obviously...
Detoured.
Decoy. Here we go. Detoured.
Yeah, detoured.
I did this last time in the other podcast, the other first one, I think, decoyed and...
Detoured.
I know, decoyed and detoured. Anyway, so I think for the... expect the unexpected. I think it's really important to have a four-wheel drive.
Depending on your rig, you probably don't need to get a really expensive one. But if your rig's pretty heavy, then obviously I would definitely be getting one.
Yeah, well, obviously for the big rigs, you need a Chevy or a Ram or you get your upgrades or whatever. But just in general, I think a four-wheel drive is definitely beneficial, even for towing, for detours, but also for when you are camped up somewhere and you want to go off to the next beach or there's a dirt track to get to a certain spot. It's just good to have it. So when it says four-wheel drive access only, you can do it.
Right,
so
Maddie,
that's definitely a yes for me. All right, what have you done here?
What is the one gadget?
What is the one gadget or modification you brought that turned out to be a total waste of space?
Well, it's a bit of a story, this one. But I would have to say the solar blanket that I bought for the Ram, for the Sunseeker when we had it.
Oh, really?
Because we only used it a few times, then it stopped working. And I couldn't bring myself to toss it out.
Oh, that's right.
And so I had it in the boot.
It's broken, so you kept it.
I know.
And then we got another one.
I think
so
I've
then
still
we had
got
two.
it.
What?
I think we still have it in the
No,
garage.
you wouldn't. Do you know what?
do.
I think the reason you kept it was not only because you just didn't want to get rid of it, was because you thought, I can fix this.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to some destination where I can speak to someone, we're going to fix it. I think that's why you didn't throw it out, but you could never come to yourself.
Can never get it fixed. But
Wasn't that what Millie? No, was that before Millie's time?
Millie
That was before
Millie
Millie's
chewed
time.
through something else. Because we had so much solar on the roof, we never really needed it. But in saying that, we have been talking about getting a solar blanket for the new van.
Yeah, well, it's much smaller
Yeah.
roof space now,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we definitely will be getting that.
So,
I
but
thought you were going to say something else was a waste of
What?
space. The TV.
oh no, I'm going to talk about that later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
All right, we'll talk about the TV later
yeah,
then.
yeah. That's like you just spoiled my surprise.
Okay, but they don't know what we're relating to, so
Ah,
we'll wait and see.
all right.
Okay, so
you ready?
I don't really have one of those gadget modifications because that's Tim's area.
Justine's modifications are things like knife sets up on the wall.
and chopping
and
board.
chopping boards
I'm going to
inside
Howard's Storage
cupboards.
World this next
But
week.
those modifications, I have to say, are actually pretty good. I wouldn't say that they're a waste
they're
of
not
space.
a waste. They're like great.
They're actually pretty good. As much as I sort of whinge and whine about it.
I don't think I have one. That's not really. Yeah, I don't have anything.
But I'm sure other modifications, things like batteries but we ended up using them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All
All right, my dear. Caravan parks and free camps. If money wasn't an issue, which would you choose every night? And that's a bit of an interesting question, isn't it? Because free camps are different in every state, aren't they?
I think they're both very different. That's a tough one. Because we prefer free camps. Well, I prefer the free camps because, one, it's free. That's priority. But secondly, most of the free camps that you go to we've been, there's so much more room to move. There's so much more space. There's more privacy if you want it. Or there's your campfires of just whoever's free camping and you all get together and you have a chat and there's no restricted areas. I don't like being restricted in general in life. So when you go to a caravan park and you've just got your spot with your little line and your little area where you can do stuff and, any areas you can and can't take dogs or an area you can and can't take your scooters or bikes. I don't like restriction. I like that freedom in every way. So
It's a difficult question, isn't it? Because I think if you have families with children, they generally like caravan parks where there's a pool and slides and
the little
close
bikes
to and all those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And I think, like we went to some free camps down in Tasmania, which were so good.
oh, stunning. Absolutely stunning.
And there are people who live in those free camps permanently. They just move around to different free camps.
Yeah, because they're not allowed to stay in free camps, but they just go from one for 24 days, is it, or something, or 25 days?
29.
Was it 29 days?
29 days.
You can't stay any longer than 29 days. So
They just go
we
to
met a few characters that just move from that one to the next one and then 29 days
back
come back
again.
to this one. So
But, free camps, for example, on the coast of New South Wales, they're very few and far between. And the ones that are free, I wouldn't want to stay there.
no.
Yeah.
We haven't done a lot of that coast though. So the area that we did do, but
Whereas Tasmania, the free camps are just incredible.
everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a totally, I just feel like
So I think
Tasmania's totally
it's a very very difficult question, isn't it? It says, if money wasn't an issue. If money wasn't an issue, I'd probably hire like 2 caravan sites to make sure we've got plenty of room. But caravan parks are so expensive now. It is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's no longer the poor man's holiday, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But even in saying that, honestly, even in that question you said, even if we had the money, if money wasn't an issue, I would still choose low cost and free camp over a caravan park. And I know I'm older, Riley's older, so we're probably not using the facilities as much as when Riley was younger, but we would still make ourselves go and stay at caravan parks purely because we had Riley. And we wanted Riley to still mix with kids when we are being off grid and out of the way, and he's just sort of had us and the dogs. We would choose to go to the caravan park for Riley more than anything, and me occasionally because I had really long hair back then. I had to wash my hair in a normal shower cubicle because that was amazing. But yeah, I don't think the money would make a difference to me. I would still free camp.
Once upon a time, low-cost camps were low cost. But now if you want to go to a low-cost camp, for example, some on the Sunshine Coast, you would classify as low cost, but you go there and they're $45, $50
Yeah,
a month.
they're like they're the price of what caravan parks used to be.
For a bit of grass, no power, no water, no nothing.
So you got to really look for those ones that are still low cost. You can't just expect it. I mean, it's going up absolutely everywhere. So we're not missing that part of the travelling, the cost of that.
No.
But anyway, to answer the question, yes, for me, it's free camping all the way, with or without money. I would much prefer to do all that for the space and the different people you meet as well. So you don't get a lot of weekenders and school holiday makers as much. You usually get your more full-time travellers doing the same stops as you. Yeah. So always stories to share.
All right.
All right. So the next question for you: how do you handle caravan security when you leave the van for a day trip?
So that's a tough one again. It would depend again where we were.
Yeah.
Because if we were in a free camp, we generally wouldn't leave the van alone for too long. With the exception of places like Tasmania, we did there. But I don't know. Like, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because we don't have an alarm in our van. I know they're available. We just don't have one, and we've never had one. We don't have cameras. We've got our dogs, but we generally wouldn't leave our dogs in the van when we
wouldn't leave them for a day. Absolutely not.
I guess we just try to. We always have our hitch lock, and we always have a chain around the wheels. And we would obviously make sure all the blinds are down so no one can actually see inside the van. So what we have. It's a pretty tough question, security. I think generally speaking, I don't think really. It's still a pretty safe. We've never had an issue in travelling for 4 years.
No.
Ever.
We've never had anyone try and break in. We've never had anything stolen. But like a hot tip, even if you don't have dogs, we did learn this anyway. I'm talking to people. You put like a dog lead or you put dog bowls out, sitting outside of your caravan step, so it looks like you have dogs, because that's a good deterrent for people. But we actually did have dogs. Lots of people do that. They don't have dogs, but they chuck the bowls out there because apparently, obviously someone's going to try and break in. No one knows what kind of dog you have or if there's one in there. So, but like you said, all those, the hitch lock and that special chain that you have around the wheel. I don't exactly know. It's like a special one. That did have an alarm.
It did.
But again, we never left the van in a place for a whole day unless it was a caravan park where it was secure. And even then we'd still secure the van because it was our home and we didn't want to risk it.
Caravan parks, I think you're pretty safe.
Yeah. I think in some places though we extra locked everything. Like when we were out at Alice Springs Caravan Park, obviously that was one of the ones that we made sure everything was pretty much nailed to the ground. But,
that's true.
And in that circumstance, that was another reason we got an ensuite at that caravan, because we actually put all our chairs and stuff, because they did say you need to put them away because they'll be gone by morning.
Classic things people will steal will be your fridge, if it's outside, and your chairs.
Yeah.
And bikes.
Yeah.
People will steal them. The only thing thing that just jumped out at me then was it didn't happen to us, but it happened to our neighbour when we were down at Whyalla.
Yeah.
They had their electric bike stolen off the back of their van in the middle of the night. And they had them all locked up.
And that was a bit scary. I was a bit frightened after that because that was our closest call to any kind of theft in all our travels. And I just felt for them. They were absolutely gutted.
Because our dogs were outside at that time.
Yeah, our dogs were actually outside.
But they didn't come to our van. They went to their van.
But again, they probably didn't come to our van because we had the dogs. Because we had our bikes and all our stuff there. They were all locked and together as well. But it was we felt so bad for those people. So
They had their 2 electric bikes stolen.
yeah, they had both of them stolen. And they had the special locks. They had everything. Like they had, it was fully, I mean, these people obviously really wanted those bikes.
So how do you actually handle that sort of
Well,
thing?
I think you can't. I mean, it's, if somebody wants something bad enough, they're going to do everything they can. And if that's the case, you know, that's obviously why you have insurance. And yeah, I think you just need to be as prepared as possible for what you have.
All right, my dear. I've got another section now. You ready?
Sure.
I've titled this one, The Route and Planning. All right, so here we go.
This will be good.
Do you book sites months in advance or do you wing it day by day? Has winging it ever backfired?
Yes, yes, and yes. I think when we first set out, we did a lot of winging it, and the majority of the time it worked. I don't remember where it hasn't been like a drastic dilemma. Nice. I know mistakes we've made without that have been dilemmas, but we've been pretty lucky when we've just, I don't know.
It's pretty good.
But as the years progressed, I think in the sort of third year, it was to the point where there was so many people starting to get on the road and travel. We actually did have to start booking ahead, just for places we specifically 100% wanted to stay. We're like, okay, we have to go here, so we're going to have to book. We didn't ever like booking ahead because it does restrict you, because we were one of those travellers that were so, you know, the open road's ours to take us wherever we wanted to go. So we would wake up in the morning and go, okay, where are we going today? I don't feel like going anywhere. Let's just stay another couple of nights here.
We did that all the time.
And so we did that all the time, and that freedom was the best.
It was.
And that's why we didn't like booking ahead. So but when you're traveling, you must book ahead when it comes to school holidays.
That's true.
Generally, we would try to go into hiding. When it was school holiday time, we would try and get away from the busy places. Occasionally, we would go into the crazy for Riley's sake, let him hang around with kids and play with kids and, you know, interact, because they do need that as well. I do remember when we had to book, I don't know if it was when we were down before we went to Tassie, when we were going in the snow area, and we had to book. We had the trip planned and there was like 4 or 5 stays in that progression. We're like, okay, we've got to book that. Then we have to book that. Then we have to book that, because there was no free camps in that area. There was nowhere really to stay. And then if we rocked up and there was nothing there, then we were going to be sitting, we were going to have to pull up on the side of the road somewhere. And then I remember something happened and then we had to change one booking, which then meant getting on the phone and changing the next consecutive 5 stops. And I have to say, it was so annoying. Like, I don't like having to be booked in for the whole time.
In saying that, I know there are some states where you actually have to. So, WA, you need to be prepared to book ahead.
Oh, well, we haven't
Because
done WA.
It's always so popular.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be one.
And we didn't really book ahead in Tasmania because most of the places we stayed were free.
Yeah.
We just rocked up. So, yeah, I guess our biggest issue was invariably we would stay longer somewhere than what we had planned. So,
and we had the dogs, because we also had to take that into consideration of places that would take dogs. School holidays, majority don't. So that was always a bit of a challenge sometimes.
So for that reason, we tended to just wing it more than booking ahead. If we did book ahead, it was only really a day ahead.
Yeah, it was for like an experience or something that we're like, okay, this is happening. Let's get there. We want to be in that location. Or if you've meeting up with another travel family that you've met and you guys have sort of done a loop into some area and you're all meeting up in that one spot. So, yeah, we'd book for something like that. So then you're together with the rest of the group.
It's lots of fun winging it. I would suggest you give that a crack.
Yeah, if you can just wing it and don't care if you don't get somewhere. But we did a lot of winging it and a majority of them worked out really well.
Yeah, I agree. All right.
All right. So where are we up to now? Oh, this is a good one. It's a good question. What is the single best campsite you have ever stayed at?
Well, we did a really great video, which was probably one of our most popular videos, which was our 11 most popular caravan parks.
Because we couldn't agree on 10.
Yeah, and I think our number one, which I think you're going to have a chat about, but Our number one now for me would probably be my number 2 or number 3.
Your number 1.
Well, the number 1 on that video is now probably my personal number 2.
Oh, from the old video, right.
So for me, the best single campsite I've ever stayed at would have to be the free camp at the Bay of Fires.
That was pretty awesome.
That would have to be my favourite because I loved the beach. I loved the walks. It wasn't much of a campsite. It was just like a dirt road.
It was just like a dirt patch, gravel.
It was free. And for dinner, you could just go down to the beach and launch your fishing rod into the ocean. So where you'd see all the schools of Atlantic salmon swimming down the coastline. And when you saw them, you'd just go down to the beach and launch in your fishing rod and you'd catch Australian salmon. And then in the mornings, you'd wake up and you'd do these amazing walks along the beach and climb over the rocks. And the temperature was just perfect. It always was pretty windy, but
we did have good weather.
In the mornings, it would be very still, but by about midday, it would start to get a bit windy. And then we didn't really have any rain. It was just awesome. So that would have to be my personal number 1. Okay. Very closely followed by Bridport in Tasmania, which also wasn't in that. Now, Bridport's probably a place where a lot of people don't go because it's north of Launceston in Tassie. So most people go to Launceston and then just sort of cut straight across. But we went north, and there's a little town called Bridport, and that was like it was like a jewel in the crown for me. It was right on the beach, had the most amazing tracks for bike riding, and
yeah,
it was. And we stayed at a powered site for one night, and then we moved.
Yeah, I think we've told the story of how we ended up there.
It was just amazing.
But that was a good spot.
We were literally on the beach, so that's probably my number 2. Very, very, very close to those two.
And they're both in Tasmania.
They are.
Funny that.
Yeah, I love Tasmania.
We do love Tassie.
All right, my dear, but I don't know if they're your number ones.
For me,
I
going
don't think
out,
they are, but maybe.
I'm trying to think back to other places way back, so more in the middle of our travels. So obviously I love the outback and I love the bush. I love my animals. That's what I take my photos of. So for me, I think I'm tossing up between 2 that from my memories because I was trying to rack up some memories of old places. But we had this awesome free camp in Port Gibbon. Was it low cost or was it?
It was donation.
Donation. They've done some works in this particular spot now. There's actually a toilet and shower, 2 toilets and 2 showers there, I think now, or just 2 toilets, I'm not sure. But when we were there, it was just, I love when things are natural and they haven't been touched. It's just literally the spots where your caravans just pull up where people have obviously left their mark. But I don't know exactly what it's called if we can remember, but it's in Port Gibbon. It's actually past Port Gibbon, the main part of town. And you go off the main road up this little pathway and it just opens out onto this magnificent ocean and little cliffs, and the walks were absolutely amazing. I do remember it being pretty windy for one of the nights, but I think that was my first real wow moment.
I do remember it being really windy.
Yeah, that first night was like a washing machine. But then all of a sudden we woke up to the day was just, couldn't have asked for a better day. And it was one of those moments where before we left traveling, I'd wanted one of those moments where you have those beautiful aqua colours and the beautiful white sands. And that's exactly what we had. I opened the window and looked out and went, this is why we hit the road. And then this was the moment.
We were right down there near the end of the beach, and there was like a little outcrop of rocks, and there were all seals on the rocks.
Yeah. It was one of those moments where you had to sort of pinch yourself and go, we're really doing this. Like, we're now one of these people traveling. We now have these shots that we've only ever seen through a TV screen. And I'm opening my caravan window and here we are. And it was just phenomenal. The massive sand dunes, to me was one of my favourites.
It cost us like $10.
Yeah, like $10. It was just, yeah, and it was amazing. And now there's toilets there, which is really cool.
So
because obviously there's nothing there. You've got to be fully self-contained.
On that video, number one we had is at that stage was Wilpena Pound.
Yeah, when we did our previous top 11, yeah, Wilpena Pound was our number one.
And
but
where
that
would-
was before we went to any of these places.
Where would that be now?
Oh, that's still up there because I just love all that mountainous, different colourings, and it's up in the top 3, I think, Wilpena Pound.
Yeah,
I have got another one though.
Oh.
So this is one that's a little bit out there. It's very unusual and it's a bit weird. I don't
I have
know.
no idea where this is going. This is cool.
I could never remember the name or say it. So I don't know if I'll say it right, but it's Camowheel.
Camowheel. That was a free camp too.
So this was a free camp on that. What's that major highway between when you're heading back from
when you turn right at the 3 ways,
Yeah.
and you then cut across
heading back towards Queensland.
and just over the border.
And it's literally just across the border in the middle of nowhere. And you just sort of turn just before that little town, and it's right along was it like a riverbank?
I think it was a river. Yeah.
It was quite dry when we were there, so there wasn't like tons of water, but we could see where the water would come up when they get obviously the wet season. But the thing I loved is this was another big sort of tick was they had thousands and thousands of budgies, so the wild budgerigars, and they were just everywhere. The wildlife there was phenomenal. So just being somewhere in the middle of Australia, it just felt so, I don't know, you feel so alone and like there's no one else around and it's just you. And the night sky there was just mind-blowing. Like, can't even explain it. It's like you are in space. It's like you could reach up and almost touch the stars. So they're 2 of my favourite campsites because we're off-grid, fully off-grid. You had to be fully self-contained, and that's why you do get less people in those sites because not everyone's fully self-contained or has grey water tanks. So I love being off the beaten track. I love it out there. I love being secluded.
Well, in 6 weeks' time, we'll be going out that way again, mate.
We are going, yes, in 6 weeks' time. My goodness, we've got a trip we're going to be doing. It's a big trip, but I can't wait. It's going to be very, very exciting.
Yeah, there's going to be lots of birds out that way. The birds in the outback I'm looking forward to.
It's a working holiday, though. It's not like we're just going on holidays.
It's going to be great.
Yeah, but it's going to be amazing. Anyway, so they're my 2, totally different to
Yeah,
you, but
they
that's
are.
what I mean. We have totally different loves, which is
Interestingly enough,
a good thing.
the only one out of all of those that we had to pay for was Wilpena Pound.
Yeah,
Isn't that interesting?
it's true, actually. That's what I said.
And that was a national park, so we paid for it because it was a national park. But we did have power and water there.
Which we did need in Wilpena Pound because we were there for a bit.
Did we have water at Bay of Fires? We didn't, did we?
Nope. None of those. They were all completely self-contained.
Yeah, right.
So, anyway,
All right.
I think there's one more question.
Yeah, off you go.
So, how do you find your campsites, wiki camps, word of mouth, or Google Maps?
I don't think I've ever used Google Maps in my life. So it's definitely not Google Maps.
Tim just refuses to use Google Maps.
Because we're
That's
like,
just another story. So definitely not
but,
Google Maps.
We use wiki camps a lot, don't we? We also use hip camps. Word of mouth, definitely as well. So,
but I think with
but
the
wiki camps is probably the number one.
yeah,
I would say.
I think wiki camps was definitely up the biggest, the one we used the most.
Yeah.
And then we found hip camps, and we started doing a few hip camps, but they were a little bit hit and miss. The hip camps in the earlier days.
I got on hip camps yesterday because we're planning this trip in 6 weeks' time. And they actually had quite a few. So I think hip camps has definitely gotten better over the last couple of years, babe. So
Yeah, well, it was early days, I think, when it sort of came about.
we found that little awesome place down there at Goulburn. Was it Goulburn? Where it snowed?
Yeah, that was Goulburn.
That was hip
just
camps.
outside of Goulburn.
That was a hip camp that we found.
Oh, there you go.
So, but yeah, well, I think it's definitely gotten better. But wiki camps, would have to say, is still probably our number one. I really like using books as well.
Yeah, the books.
But-
We just bought a really nice book, and we can't find it. We just bought a new map book, an updated one, and we've put it.
It's got to be
somewhere.
around somewhere.
Oh, somewhere. My goodness,
But I like using physical books and maps. I like,
we're old.
yeah.
we like the old school.
It's a bit like a photograph. You can't really experience a photograph without printing it. So I like the paper.
So we have both. We do have the apps on our phones, and we also have the physical books. We always had the HEMA map book was the best one. Yep. We did use that we would sort of use a combination. If we found a campsite on WikiCamps, we'd get the address and then we'd look it up on the app, but then we'd also get the physical book out just to see the terrain, because WikiCamps doesn't always explain the terrain to get there.
The physical book is always good while you're physically driving, because you can physically see where you're going. Whereas an app, you've got to stop, pull over and...
Yeah, but it was good. The HEMA maps, I think, are definitely something really good to have, because it just shows you the terrain of the land. So you know if you're going to be like crazy up and down, or whether it's pretty flat. But in saying my opinion on the word of mouth, it's great to get suggestions from people, but just make sure, I think I've said this many times, just don't not go somewhere because someone said, no, don't go there. It was awful. It was yuck. If it's somewhere that you've really got your heart set on going, do it, because we all have different preferences and different likes. So I think, only missed 1 or 2 places because we bumped into someone, oh, no, don't go there. It's awful. It's this, it's that. And we're like, oh, okay, well, this is when we're sort of new to the whole hitting the road thing. So we didn't go. And then during our travels, then you meet someone who's followed sort of that same track as you, and they went to the same place and went, oh, have you been? Did you guys stop there? It was amazing. And we're like, what? We were told not to go there, that it was awful and this and that. And they said, oh, well, no, this was our experience. And then they show us photos and we were just kicking ourselves going, that was a massive lesson learned. I think it happened only twice. And then we're like, okay, you know what, that's great. Thanks for your opinion. But then we'll make our decision. And I don't think we ever made any bad decisions, because anywhere we went where someone had said not to go, we loved. So be careful with what you do listen to. Not everybody's place is their own cup of tea kind of thing.
All right, my dear. Well, the next section, you might be a bit out of your depth for some of these questions, so you might have to shoot them over to me. I've called this section the gearhead section.
I think this should be the Tim Tech session.
But if any of these questions you don't answer, just flick them over to me, because I love having a rant about some of these.
So where am I reading?
This here section here.
Right, okay.
Right, so I'm going to ask you this question, but if you don't know, you can ask me. So
this is going to be fun.
If you had to strip your caravan down to just 3 essential modifications, what would they be? So if you don't want to say modifications, you can just say 3 essential elements
that I would take off the van.
So if you just had 3 things that you had to have on your van, what would they be?
Oh, so the only 3 things that you had to have.
Yeah.
Well, a bed.
What that's just silly. You had to have it in the van. We spoke about this before we bought the Snowy. We knew there were things that we wanted.
Well, I needed to have that separate toilet shower. Mm-hmm. I want it has to have that larger bathroom feel, that homely feel.
Yeah.
So the separate toilet shower were an absolute must. Mm-hmm. Having that space that drops down to a bed, but it's also a table, I really love having that option, because you still have that space underneath that top bunk without having to worry about going, it's 2 bunks and you've got no table inside. I'm just more specifically leaning towards our van, because that's the reason we bought the van. The third thing, I think every caravan should have an outdoor kitchen.
Yeah,
like, honestly,
cool.
I think we've never had one. This is our first van with an outdoor kitchen. Even in the fancy van, we never got a pull-out kitchen. And that's my absolute must now, I think, with every van. So, and I think that's changed, because if you'd asked me in our old van, or even every van that we've had, and I have said this so many times and I have completely backflipped, I've always said, you could never have a van without an oven. Well, guess what we have? A van without an oven. And I'll be completely honest, I'm not even missing it.
You even used to say you could never have a van without a washing machine.
I did. Yeah, I did used to say that. You have to have a washing machine. But we did have a caravan that didn't have one previously, and we used to get a little portable one, which is something, if we were to do a massive trip, even our big trip that we're going on, we might just buy like a little more mini portable one, because we do have access to power if we need it. But we'll see. Oh, they do have washing machines, I think, at the place.
There's a laundry where we're going.
That's right.
So I don't think I don't think we're going to be having power. We'll have our inverter on, but we're not going to be having power.
Yeah. Well, I don't think a washing machine was always a must, but I always used to say an oven. Absolutely, absolutely. You can't have a caravan without an oven. Well, yep, I'm totally backflipping, and we are totally fine without an oven. And I think that's because when we're free camp, we don't have our air fryer, but when we're in a caravan park, we have the air fryer. But we don't miss it. I don't miss it at all. So that's it. Toilet, shower, that convertible table to a bunk if we need it, and the outdoor kitchen.
Okay.
What about you?
For me, yeah. So I think that you really do need a van with, I think, with a good off-road suspension. Now, I don't think you need to go to the airbag scenario, even though I think airbags are just
They would be amazing.
incredible.
We do miss them.
But the key here says essential. Airbags aren't essential. They're really good, especially when you need to level the van. It's just a dream. But I wouldn't say it's essential, but I would say definitely some springs, a spring independent suspension, because you just don't know. I mean, like, for example, when Justine spoke before about being diverted.
Detoured.
So in the previous video, Justine spoke about where we were detoured.
After an accident on the highway. Yeah,
and we were
got
detoured along
off-road.
roads that were an absolute nightmare. Now, if you just had on-road suspension, and people say, "Oh, well, I don't need on-road suspension because I'm going to stay on bitumen." Okay, but sometimes you may take a wrong turn, and once you take a wrong turn, it's very difficult to turn around.
We learnt that the hard way.
And you might be detoured along roads that you thought you would never go down. Now, if you've just got normal leaf suspension, and a low van, you might get into a situation where you might get yourself into trouble. So I would say definitely look at getting some sort of independent suspension on your van. And these days, 80% of the vans have that anyway. But I would be looking at that. I also think whether or not this is essential or not, it probably isn't. But I probably would be looking at getting some sort of inverter in your van, even if it's just enough just to boil a kettle. Like if you pull over the side of the road and you want to have a cup of tea or something, it's always good just to have a kettle that you can plug in, turn on. Like that happened to us coming home.
Yeah, it did.
I forget where we were. I think I needed a coffee or something, and
Yeah,
I
it
was
was a
really
big
tired.
day.
We left really early coming home from Yeppoon, and I was really tired. And, coffees are so expensive when you go and buy. So being able to pull over, turn your inverter on, plug your coffee machine in, and make a coffee, that was really good. So you can get inverters that 1,500 watt to 2,000 watt, and they're pretty cheap. You can get one that just plugs directly into your battery and turn it on, and it just works.
It was handy actually because that was a good test. For the caravan to see how it went. And I remember it was raining, but we pulled up, and even the cafes were actually all closed in that particular area because it was cyclonic, and it was so nice to pull up.
It was really good.
Flick the inverter on, chuck the coffee machine on, made your coffee.
It was so good.
And it was so easy and it was quick, and then you're done.
Yeah, I would say that's on the verge of being essential. I really think that just get a little inverter. You can go to King's and buy a small inverter if you have to. Just get something, because sometimes you might need to charge something, and you just, you might want to charge your phone, or
it's just good for
computer
emergencies and stuff as well.
And even I would say that. I would say a small inverter, and obviously every van comes with a battery. Maybe some don't, but I think, but whether you need lithium or not, I don't know if that's really essential. But I'll definitely make sure you've got enough solar to charge that battery.
Yeah.
And get some good solar. Get good quality solar that can keep the battery charged. So they're probably my three. I would say good suspension, an inverter, and sufficient solar to keep the batteries topped up.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so next on your hot little list. What is the one popular gadget everyone buys that is actually a total waste of space?
Well, I think it would have to be a television.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. So this is where the TV
Like,
scenario
it's
came
just,
into it.
they come on these dinky little brackets that go on the wall. I mean, it's on the wall. It takes up so much space. And really, I don't know, like...
We don't use the TV.
We don't. Well, but that's not because we don't like entertainment. We do. But if we want to watch TV, we'll just put the iPad on and just stream it. Or, I mean, I don't know. Like, we're the sort of family that don't really even use an aerial. We'll just stream it from the internet.
I think the main thing was we had the TV with us when we were traveling full time, and I think it came out once, and then we didn't even turn it on, and then it went back under the bed in its little navigator thing or whatever we had it in a padded thingy. It stayed in the bottom of underneath the bed in our big rig. We got it home. And the whole TV was like smashed, like because we had just put stuff down on top of it, and we just didn't use it. And to me, that was the biggest waste of space and
I think
weight.
it takes up too much wall space. You always hit your head on it, and we never use it.
And I think, obviously there are people out there that do use the tellies who have
And
younger
that's fine.
kids and they put little cartoons and stuff on. But I mean, so many people that we talked to that had kids, they all, again, just had an iPad that they'd sit up in the kids' bunk for them or something on the table. So for us personally, we don't think a TV is necessary. And I think if anything, it's great to not have a TV because it gets you actually socialising and talking to each other and doing other things because...
And the quality of the TV is invariably rubbish.
But then you get people that get rid of those TVs and then they go and buy a bigger TV because there's just people that love TV and that's totally okay as well.
I mean, but that's true.
That's just not us.
Well, like we went into, at the last Caravan show, we went into that brand. They had 3 televisions in the Caravan, but they were pretty cool.
But it did look, but that was different because they were kind of like in the wall. It looked really cool. But
so they were in the wall and they had like a little thing that went up to cover it. So you didn't even know they were even there. When it was time to watch the television, the panel would go...
It was like...
And that was pretty
business
cool.
class or something. I don't know. But for us personally, that to us is waste because we don't watch the TV. We would use our iPad or our computer or our laptop or something to chuck a movie on. So, yeah, that's definitely... Yeah. I don't think there's anything else. I
think we're the same on that one.
Yeah, I don't think I really... What's another gadget? Oh, I mean, you've bought so many gadgets that I've thought were just a waste.
Gadget Tim.
He loves his tech and gadgets and... I like my knick-knacky things. You're like the gadget man.
All right, my dear. Now, look, this next one is a very interesting question because for our van, my answer to this one would be absolutely yes. But I want you to answer it. Awnings. Okay. Do you actually use the anti-flap kit for short stays, or is it too much hassle?
Well, I think...
So I'm talking 1 or 2 nights, short stays. What would you do?
The anti-flap kit?
Yes.
I'd probably still use it because you never know when you're going to get hit with a big rainstorm.
Or wind.
So to save the awning, it's worth putting up. And it doesn't take very long. It's like 5 minutes to, not even that. Get the poles out, put them together, put them where they go, and there you got a safe awning. You know it's not going to get ripped off the caravan. We've seen too many people make the mistake of not doing it, even having it actually just tied down, and they've still ended up with damage with a freak storm that's come out. And we all know what the world's like at the moment. There's so many freak storms at the moment. It's just not worth the risk, in my opinion. If you've got the gear, use it.
So for the sake of having a good night's sleep, Justine never sleeps and we don't have the anti-flap kit on. Because as soon as there's like a little puff of wind, it's like... It's windy.
He just loves to exaggerate. But do you know how many times do you know how many times I've saved our caravan? I have saved us so many. Okay, so what just happened recently with this little caravan? Oh, she'll be right. It's raining. We don't have the anti-flap kit yet, right? So we don't have it yet. But we've got other things tied down. We've got the side shade in, and it's pretty taut. Like, it's actually really good, but it's raining. So you've only got a little awning. Even if you have it on an angle, when it's torrential, gets a little heavy, I open the door and here we have a swimming pool outside and here's the awning. So I yell at Tim to go and say, well, she'll be right, didn't quite work tonight. So we're literally out there undies and singlets in the middle of the night with a broom pushing all the water off because Tim said, oh, she'll be right. Don't worry. Just go to sleep.
So, yeah.
So what was that? Oh, thanks, babe. Next time we'll make sure we don't do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But I would say for our van, 100%, yes, you need an anti-flap kit, even for short stays.
Yes, 110%. Yeah. We will always
and
put our anti-flap on.
And if you have an electric awning, I would say, yes, 100% you need an anti-flap kit.
Yes.
If you have one of those manual ones, which I think is way better.
We do prefer the manual awning, but...
but maybe not, but have a look at the weather and see what's coming your way. So if you think there's going to be some wind or some rain, either don't put the awning out or put the anti-flap kit on.
Yeah. If it's only just a 1 or 2 night stay somewhere.
It's the best investment. It's not cheap. An anti-flap kit isn't cheap.
But it's worth getting because then even if you go out for the day, you know that it's safe.
It's good.
It's it's not. I mean, there's a chance the wind may still rip your awning off. I mean, that's still obviously a chance. But when you've got the anti-flap kit up, you've got it tied down, you've got your side chain, you've got so much more protection, and it's going to stay. So
yeah. All right, my dear. Now this next one, I'm going to ask you this because you might not understand the question, but
I do understand the questions.
Okay.
You know what? That's okay.
Off you go.
Tim thinks I'm silly.
No, I don't.
Toilet chemicals versus SOG systems.
So SOG means compost.
I know it means compost because we had a toilet that was a compost toilet, so I'm well aware.
All right.
Oh my gosh, I'm not an idiot. Seriously.
All right.
So what's the verdict on the smell?
All right. First of all, I'll preempt this and say I will never get a compost toilet ever again. Ever. We've had this discussion so many times and Justine, for some reason, doesn't want to talk about it because I'm sure it's because she doesn't want to remember the absolute nightmares we had with that toilet. But
we had some good times too.
How can you have a good time with a toilet? It's just... Anyway, we're not going to get into it. The question is the verdict for smell. I will give this one to the compost toilet because the smell is very, very negligible.
I was going to say, you'd have to use big words.
It's hardly there
smelly
at all. The chemical toilet, if you don't do your number 2s in there, it's actually pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start dropping number 2s, the smell can get pretty overwhelming at times.
But we haven't used our toilet yet.
I use my toilet every day.
In the caravan. To do number 2s.
No, we don't.
So we haven't done it. So at the moment, our toilet still only had 1s. So that will change when we go on our big trip, obviously, because I don't know, we won't have as many amenities sort of at hand. But
so I think in terms of smell, I'd have to give it to the compost toilet, but be prepared for a few nightmares, especially when it comes time to empty it.
I think at the end of the day, we will never get a compost toilet again.
Never,
glad
ever.
that we've had the experience. Glad we used it, but towards the end, it just got ridiculous. And
I would get
we were over it.
I would get another canister, or what do they call it?
I would seriously, if money wasn't an issue in this regards, I would be getting one of those fancy ones that has a bag in it and stuff, and then you push a button and then it seals it and then drops it into the thing and then you just chuck it into the bin. There is the most fancy toilet out now. I think it's like $3,000 and something. But if money wasn't an issue, my gosh, that toilet would be amazing.
Well, you can get toilets, and I know, it's the most expensive van in Australia, but they have a toilet that has something that actually, I don't know what it does. It churns it up and minces it up, and then
it minces. Oh my gosh, your words are horrific.
And you never ever need to empty it.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's all right. We'll just stick to our little canisters.
But they're probably there. Yeah.
And
the most expensive van in Australia has those.
Okay, well, you'd want it to have one of those far out. Does
but
it drive itself as well to get to the destination?
But again, I don't know why you need that. Just go and enjoy it.
Well, I guess the whole canister toilet and changing it and going to the dump point, it's all part of the adventure of caravanning. I feel like if you don't have a toilet story, you're just not travelling right.
Yeah, I agree. That's true. We are running out of time, but I just really, really quickly got one more little section. Yes. I've called this one the Dreamer Questions.
Okay.
The Dreamer Questions. So All right. I'm going to
Should
go
this be like a next video?
No. 'Cause
Okay.
There's only really one question here, but I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Here we go.
I don't know what you're asking me, so I'm a little freaking out.
How do you handle post-trip blues when you have to go back to reality?
I go into a corner and I rock.
That's really funny, baby.
You just have to handle it. I get cranky. I get sad. I don't know. I stop watching social media for the day because I'm like, I want to be back out there. Yeah, I don't know. Everyone's different. I go up and down. I think that's my answer. I go up and down. I have days where I'm like, I love being home. I love my garden. I love my space, the dam, and I love doing all these cool stuff and just going to the shops, to the cafe and having a drink. But then I have days where I'm just watching full-time travel families one after the other, and I just feel like I sit there and I feel like I'm crying. I'm not, but internally I feel like I'm dying. So I miss full-time travel so much, but you just have to deal with it. You can't. It's not a factor of how do you deal with it. It's just you just deal with it.
Well, we had a year and a half of post-trip blues because we didn't even have a van or a car.
That was hard. It was actually really hard.
So Justine spent a lot of time in the corner doing her thing.
I need a van. How can
So
we
the
get
way
a
that we
van?
handled it is that we had to go and buy another van so that we could just sit in it for a while.
The way we sorted it, we remortgaged the house so we could go and buy a van so I wasn't sitting in the corner anymore.
That's right. I think for me, the easiest way to handle post-trip blues is to plan another trip.
That's true, actually. That is very true. Get the map books out and get the map out and try to be like, okay, let's have something to look forward to. I think that's a very good suggestion there, Tim.
Yep. Tick.
So that was a good one.
All right, my dear. We're going to leave these questions for another day, the rest of the questions.
Yes.
So here we go. But we do have another round of lightning round. This is round 2. 1-word answers only.
Okay, I'm going first. This time
okay.
I'm going to say questions first.
All right, my dear.
We're going to do it a little bit different.
So-
I'm just going to ask, he's going to answer his, and I'm going to answer mine.
1 word only. You can't ramble.
You're the one doing the rambling.
All right,
Oh
off you
my
go.
goodness.
So the lightning
Okay.
round. Ding, ding, go.
Okay. Camper trailer or caravan?
Caravan.
Caravan. Pop top or hard top?
1 word. It's a hard one.
I'm going to go pop top.
I'll probably go pop top too.
And then that's not just because we have one. There's reasons why, but we can explain that later because I'm not allowed to ramble. Dogs or no dogs?
Dogs.
Dogs, 110%. Beach or river?
That's a great question. Beach.
River. 100% river.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
Summer in the north or winter in the south?
Oh, I don't know. It's a tough one. I'm going to go winter in the south.
Same. And I'm sure there's reasons why. Pub meal or campfire cooking?
Campfire cooking.
I'd go campfire cooking too.
You hesitated.
Yeah, I had to think about it. I do like my pub meals. Okay. Creek or coast?
Like is in coast beaches. I think I'd go creek. I like to explore.
I like the creeks too. But I'm going to have to say the coast because I do like the beach.
You're definitely more beach.
As long as I'm near the water, I'm sweet.
You are definitely more beach than you are creek.
But I do like the occasional creek. I do like it a lot.
Hey, you're rambling.
Okay, sorry. All right, last one. And this is a very, very interesting question. Cafe or bench seats?
Oh, in the caravan as the table. Okay. Oh, so that's a tough one. I think I'll prefer cafe.
Do you?
They're opposite each other. That's cafe, isn't it?
Bench. Isn't that bench?
L shape, isn't it? L shape?
Okay, well, L shape or bench?
Isn't cafe seating opposite each other? The one where we sit opposite each other. I choose
one?
that one. I don't like the L shape because whoever's at one end someone always gets stuck in the middle when you need to get out.
I'd probably have to go that too.
What? The opposite each other? I'm pretty sure it's cafe.
We had most of our travels in the L shape, and I probably wouldn't go back to that again.
No.
All right, my dear.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Well, thank you.
All right, so that's another one done.
Yay.
We will have more questions again, obviously.
Maybe not the next episode, though, because I would like to get some more questions from you guys.
Yeah, we're gonna leave the questions, but yeah, these are the ones that we've been researching and ones that we have a couple.
We do have some more here, but we would like to get some more. So please drop a comment.
Yeah, keep them coming because we'll keep doing these each month.
Yeah.
And
drop a comment below. So with a question you'd like answered or a number of questions, we'd love to answer them for you.
yes.
And probably have a little bit of a spiel about it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, we'll see you in the next episode. And
That's it.
you're awesome.
I know, thanks. So are you. All right, that's a wrap. We will see you guys in the next video. Hope you guys enjoy. See ya.
I made it through the day 'cause I found my way. I found my way. In bad times, I know I'll be okay 'cause I found my way.